Hey everyone, just a moment. Alright, hey everyone, and welcome to the results live stream for our second inverted coaster contest. Now, we've already done a contest like this before, years ago, and yeah, we have a lot more possibilities now, so that's why I thought it was time to do another one of these. We got quite a few entries for this round. We had 21 entries. Yeah, I think that's a nice amount. Alright, in this live stream we will go through all of these entries. I'll try not to go through them too long, or else it would be a really long video / live stream. I hope you're all having a good time in the chat. And I think we should just start with the one that got last place. And I'll finish by announcing who's the winner of this round. Alright, let's start with last place. And in last place, with a score of 4.70, we have the entry from Sex Pedler. Now, this was obviously a joke entry. So I believe the story was something about that there was a park we built a really intense ride. And then after lots of complaints, they decided to build a coaster for the people who complain. With this baby coaster for little babies. It's obviously a joke entry. Very tiny and slow B&M Inverted Coaster. With some mushrooms, some walls around to make it look nice and safe. Yeah, I thought this was a really funny entry as well. Yeah, I thought it was very nicely done. Also, I must say I really like the way this part was done. Also, the mushrooms, I really like those as well. Alright, then let's go check out who got 20th place. And in 20th place with a score of 5.74, so 1 point higher than this one, we have the entry from LOL69. And LOL69 recreated the standard Batman, the ride layout. I think the layout is pretty accurate to how the real one looks. Yeah, not much to say about that one. There's also some other rides in the park. There's a boomerang and several other rides as well. Here we have a little wild mouse. Other than that, the space is just filled with gardens and more gardens. I think LOL69 just really likes gardens. Yeah, I think maybe if he did a little bit more with the rest of the space that he had, then probably he would have scored a bit higher. But yeah, nice to see him join again. Alright, then let's go check out who got 19th place. And in 19th place, with a score of 5.94, we have Pet Narwhal. Pet Narwhal built his entry on these cliffs. Kind of reminds me of Whispering Cliffs. Always nice to see the geysers used for this effect again. I don't know who was the first to use it, but it's a really cool effect. Yeah, this coaster actually resides in this big building here on top of the cliffs. I think the building itself looks really cool. Also some other rides around, including this custom Ferris wheel. Although, yeah, the coaster, I think maybe it has a few issues. For starters, I think it's always a nice idea to have a little catwalk under the lift hill. That's what the real ones also do. And other than that, I would probably recommend against putting so many straight sections in the coaster. Yeah, it makes it look a bit stretched out. Also inside the building, lots of straight sections. Probably something to avoid. It's generally much nicer to make your coaster look nice, flowy, curvy. But yeah, I must say I do really like the landscaping in this park. The cliffs, I mean. Alright, then we can check out who got 18th place. And in 18th place, with a score of 6.21, we have Mouse. Mouse made this big pink and white coaster. Now, I have to say I really like how this coaster is laid out. It's nice, spacious, and yeah, I think that that looks pretty nice. So layout, I think it's also pretty nice. Although right after this first drop, there's first this big hill. And usually these coasters start with a big inversion, and in most of the other hills they have inversions as well. But it is nice to see some more elements here, like this spiral here. Especially in this big part of the ride, I think it could have used another inversion or two. But overall, I think it's laid out pretty nicely. I also quite like this chess board here in the middle. That's also pretty cool. Over here we have a little car ride, some candy theme. Overall, I think it's a really pleasant entry. Alright, then in 17th place. In 17th place, with a score of 6.48, we have ATM. Now here you can see ATM Spark. That's some sort of Halloween vibes. And yeah, what I really like about this coaster is this inversion that ATM there's these really sharp turns here, so probably these G-forces would be pretty painful and would probably break the cars, but it sure looks really cool. Also with this track weaving right through it, I think that looks really cool. Also like how this track here is decorated with some of these pines hanging off it, or some moss. That's pretty cool detail. Yeah, also some nice decoration here on the map edge with these trees. When you do trees like these, I would recommend try to use a few more different tree types. Make it look a little bit less regular. I think on this side it's actually done pretty well, but on the other sides it looked a little bit repetitive. Well, yeah, overall I think it's a nice park with some nice vibes. Oh yeah, that's what I meant. So these trees are almost all same height. They do follow the landscape. Maybe some more height variation, or maybe some more tree variation. I think that will make the effect a lot cooler. But still, it is always a nice effect to see on the edge of a map. But yeah, some really nice spooky vibes in the park. Lots of buildings. I think it looks really cool. Alright, then in 16th place with a score of 6.50, so a tiny bit higher than this one. We have Fastfly 48, and Fastfly 48 made this nice looking inverted coaster. Starts off with two big loops, and here's this pretty cool looking inversion. Here's this cobra roll. Now here's a little tip for when you're making a cobra roll. Usually cobra rolls on rides are narrow at the bottom and then wider at the top. If you do that, usually they will look a bit nicer. But probably this just fit better here. It's also not a disaster to make your cobra roll look like this. But yeah, I think it's a pretty nice layout. Also like how it travels low over the landscape here. Often on these inverted coasters you will have lots of sections where your feet are pretty close to the ground or to obstacles. And that's always some nice interaction to have on the ride. Now I do wish maybe we had a ride or two extra on this map. Maybe a launch freefall or something, that would have been nice. But yeah, overall I think it looks pretty cool. This fry stall was actually one of my favorite parts of the map. That's really nicely done. Alright, then we go check out who got 15th place. And in 15th place, with a score of 6.77, we have Bowen. Now, here's another little something, just minor nitpick. If you're sending in your save file, it's usually nicest if they're not paused. That way you're immediately thrown into the action. Just a minor nitpick, just something to look out for. I think most people prefer if the parks are not paused when you open it. Just a minor little detail. Oh yeah, this inverted coaster has some wild sections, also some underwater sections actually. This part, so the guests, I think they have to hold their breath here. I did see a bit of glitching here going on in the water, so there's probably stuff underwater. When you do that with Tile Inspector, you should move them under surface, I believe, or else, yeah, sometimes you will see the water surface glitch. Here's some big supports. These supports do look maybe a little bit oversized for the size of the loop itself. Here's a large straight section. Well, I already talked about that earlier. Probably something to avoid. Of course, it was probably necessary to overcome the size of this building. Maybe an inversion here could have been nice. Like a, what's it called? An inline twist. Or the barrel roll. Probably would have looked nice here instead of a straight section. I do see there's a brake section over here. Right. Just some things that maybe could have been improved. But yeah, I do like how the coast travels over the water here, and once again it goes underwater right here. But yeah, definitely the guests need to hold their breath here. Also a big Ferris wheel here in the middle. I think it's a nice eye catcher in the park. You can see more of this geyser objects being used here to make waves in the water. Also, there's this dark ride over here, in form of this splash boats ride. I like that there's cutouts here, so you can actually see the scenes inside. That's really neat. Yeah, really nice entry. Alright, then we go check out who got 14th place. And in 14th place, we with a score of 6.88, we have a newcomer, Big Al. Oh, Big Al made this nice looking park. I really like the autumn vibes. Yeah, it's nice foresty vibes, lots of pumpkins here as well. I think it actually works really well with the black path here. It makes this really spooky vibe here in the park. That's really nice. Love these little castle buildings here in between all the rides. I think it gives a nice and cozy feel. So I love this little fountain here. Also we have the teacups here. Double Ferris wheel. Some other rides. Yeah, overall I think the park's laid out really nice. Now I do think the coaster maybe looks a bit stretched out. There's the lift hill which travels all the way over here. And then yeah, the coaster dives under the lift hill, and then there's this large straight section. So in this part, there's not much going on. So probably what I would recommend is to instead just drop down here, start with an inversion, maybe do a roll or a loop around the lift hill, something like that. But now I think the first this whole stretch of the ride looks a little bit boring. I do think the ride really improves over here with the double loop. That's a pretty nice section. Also have a cobra roll here over this tar pit. I think that's really cool interaction here. So yeah, that park, I think it has some really nice spots. Although, yeah, this section definitely could have used some improvements. Overall, really nice work. Alright, then in 13th place, with a score of exactly 7 points, we have Colorblind Unicorn. Now I have a suspicion that this coaster was made for last month's contest, which was the transportable ride contest. But yeah, of course there's also a transportable inverted coaster. So it's definitely doesn't look out of place. Now, I have a personal well, yeah, pet peeve or something which I generally prefer to see. So yeah, I always prefer if people use the same color for the rails and for the main spine of the track. Maybe both red would have also been nice. It generally is a bit easier on the eyes. Right now this coaster with all these tracks that are overlapping, I think it looks really busy. And it makes it a little bit more difficult to follow. And just in my opinion. I know a lot of people like to have different colors for the tracks. But yeah, I do think the support work here is pretty nice. You can see this big grid here at the bottom. Maybe it would have been nice if more of those supports actually looked like they were connected to the grid, but it is pretty difficult to achieve that. But yeah, overall look of the ride, I think it's really cool. It's nice and compact, just like you would expect in a transportable ride. Also lots of other nice rides here. Here you can see one of these Music Express rides and several other rides, which are decorated really nicely. Also always love a good gradient on a launch freefall ride. And a nice topper. Yeah, really nice work. Alright, then let's go check out who got 12th place. And in 12th place with a score of 7.20, we have Funny Bone and Rufus. And they created this coaster here on an island. Well, the station's over here in this Asian theme, and it drops underground and goes to the lift hill over here. So interesting support work with these plants on top and gorillas. The inverted coaster dives under itself several times. Lots of big drops underground as well. I think maybe I would have liked to see a few more inversions here. Maybe a big loop somewhere over here could have been nice. Yeah, some nice landscaping work. I quite like how they did this rock over here and how the coaster travels around it. This cobra roll, or variant of it, kind of reminds me of the one on the coaster Conda in Walibi, Belgium. Hey, here's some more Asian style buildings. So some nice foliage. Looks like a custom swinging ship. Now I did see some things in this entry which I thought were maybe a little bit sloppy. You can see lots of these supports here under the flowers. It's probably something you may want to hide. Also, I think they tried to hide some supports over here, so you can still see some gardens here underwater. Again, probably some stuff that you don't want to be visible in your park. Here's some more of these supports. So yeah, definitely something to look out for when you're building a park. Definitely make sure to check it out from every angle. But of course, it's easy to miss stuff when you're working on a park for pretty long. But yeah, that's just how it is. Alright, in 11th place with a score of 7.23, we have Topher McBum. And Topher McBum created his own version of the Batman the Ride model. So the first part's pretty similar. I really like how he did the lift hill supports and the catwalk. That's really nice. So some nice custom supports here. Then after that, he has made his own variation on the ride with a corkscrew here, pretty fast corkscrew. Here's this small cobra roll. After that, it goes over the station, and then it goes over the brake run and then back to the station. So, an interesting variation of the Batman ride. I must say he did a really good job on the custom support work, especially here for the lift hill. Also, I think the transfer track also looks really nice. Also, it seems to be an underground ride here. Here's a Condor ride. Always love making these. A little maze. in some of these games where you can try your luck and win some prizes. But yeah, overall, I think this park has some really nice vibes. Kanaifa says I should. Oh wait, no, he says Jen says say hi to Timmy's mom. Well, I will also say hi to Timmy's mom. Hi, Timmy's mom. Swaggart didn't ask if this is live. No, this is not live. This is pre-recorded. All right. Let's see who's the next entry. Oh, we're already up to the top 10. All right, in 10th place with a score of 7.31. We have the entry from Tol JK26. Yeah, pretty zoomed out pretty far. Yeah, so this park, once again, lots of these orange and brown trees. So Tol JK26 went for the autumn vibes as well. Here's this, here's his inverted coaster. It starts with a helix. After that, there's this big drop into the vertical loop. Several more inversions. Oh, and over here, the coaster becomes a little bit chaotic. Quite a few sharp turns. Here's several more inversions, and then later here it goes back to the station. I quite like how he did the pathing here. I think that's pretty nicely done. Some nice curves to the paths. I think this way works pretty well. I do think the park maybe could have used 1 or 2 extra rides. There's this little train going around, which I think is nice. Nice bridges over here. Also this little church. The graveyard. Ah, this is actually a maze, so the guests are jumping on the graves over here. But yeah, I definitely like this little train ride that goes around here. Yeah, just a nice and cozy park. Alright, then in 9th place we have another newcomer. And with a score of 7.46. And it's Tada. Or Tada. I like just saying Tada. Anyway, Tada made this dueling inverted coaster. And I believe it's Batman and the Joker. And they travel all throughout the map here. And some really nice interaction moments where one coaster goes through a loop and the other threads right through it. That's pretty nice. Yeah, there's some nice interaction here, like I already said. Some nice buildings in the park as well. These have some interesting shapes. Some nice use of these expansion objects. Something which I also really liked was this building over here, which has the Larsen looper here in the middle. That's really nicely done. Definitely one of my favorite buildings in the map. Now it does have some really nice buildings, but yeah, it kind of does look a little bit rural. And I think it's not really a environment where you would expect these big buildings. Maybe it could have been nicer if it looked a little bit more like a cityscape. So this this entry has lots of different buildings, lots of different sets, lots of different colors. Also the coaster colors look a bit different, so that's why yeah, to me it doesn't really look very cohesive. So yeah, definitely if some more work was done to tie everything together a bit more, I think it would have scored a bit higher. But still, there's some really cool set pieces all throughout the park. Especially this building, I think, is a highlight. Also how this bobsleigh coaster is integrated into this building, I think it's also really nice. Yeah, definitely some really cool scenes in the park. Oh yeah, I wanted to show my favorite part. I think this sign over here says Arkham is really nicely done. Also with the coaster track around. I think that's a really cool detail. Alright, then we get to 8th place. And in 8th place, with a score of 7.77, lucky, we have Lurker. Now, Lurker made this a really cool scene. It's a pretty compact inverted coaster. And yeah, this is the way I like to see them. There's a really cool catwalk for the lift hill. A nice combination here. Looks like wooden track and either car ride track or a ghost train track. Probably ghost train track, yeah. Right, that looks really nice. Also the first drop, nice flowy into this loop, which has this nice backdrop of this waterfall. That's just really neat. Also some nice support work here. Actually pretty easy to make nice looking supports for this coaster. Because usually you can just slap some single rail coaster onto these supports that the game already draws, and yeah, that's just really simple. Yeah, some other nice inversions over here before it returns back to the station. Yeah, very compact layout, full of inversions, and that's definitely how you will often find these coasters, or at least their real layouts. Now, for the rest of the park, guests are just walking through the grass here. Some nice landscape. Yeah, lots of these trees, again in autumn colors. I think it's just a beautiful little park. Alright, where were we? Alright, looks like we have 7 entries remaining. And it looks like the next entry will be the first one that has a score higher than 8.0. Alright, in 7th place, with a score of 8.08, we have Chuggers. No, I don't think we've seen him for quite some time in one of our contests. It's always nice to see someone return. No, Chuggers did go for a one angle entry, which allowed him to go for some trickery, like this half diagonal building over here. It's usually not something that's very doable if you want to build in 4 angles if you don't use custom scenery. Yeah, definitely lots of trickery going on here. Also some these shenanigans were done here to make this queue look curvy. So yeah, lots of one angle trickery in this park. Here's another one of these buildings which looks like it's at an angle. I think it's quite impressive to build it like this. Although, yeah, once again, you can only really do that from an angle. Now, if you want to see how it's done, you could rotate the park and click this angle. And then just, for example, we could just make it invisible. You can see it looks all weird from this angle. Does it say you're not permitted to view this angle? Below management. Oh. I'll change it back to a monorail. I don't want to disobey the law. There we go. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty nice layout. Here you can see a loop, big co-barrel, a loop perhaps around the lift hill. Although it does look a little bit glitchy here. And here's some more inversions. I think maybe Chuggers overdid it a bit with the inversions on this part. There's 3 inversions in a row here. Maybe it's a little bit much. But yeah, really cool entry. Nice to see Chuggers join another one of my contests. Alright, then in Sixth place, we have another duo, and it's Horror Girl and Janderman 227 with a score of 8.22. Now, Horror Girl and Janderman, they based their entry off the movies of what was it called again? Final Destination. Now, I think this coaster is the probably one of the most well-known scenes of Final Destination. You can actually see some guests hanging from the loop here. And the coaster in the movie, it was digitally altered to make it look much bigger. But I believe this is sort of what the actual layout looks like. Oh, yeah, pretty cool how they copied that scene over here. There's lots of scenes from the different movies here. I believe one of them had a space shuttle that was crashing. Now we also have a big inverted coaster over here. I quite like the color scheme. Here we have another one of these loops which wraps around the lift hill. Always nice to see. A cobra roll with a path going over the base with some nice interaction. Yeah, for the rest, I think this layout's also pretty nice. Some nice custom support work here as well. Yeah, I think it's really nicely done. Now, I do think maybe there's a bit too many differently colored parts in the park. Maybe it could have been a little bit more cohesive. The color schemes were a bit more similar. But on the other hand, I do believe they have themed every ride here and every part here after stuff that was actually in the movie. So I understand the color choices as well. But yeah, really cool entry. And I always love a good movie reference. Alright, then we get to 5th place. And in 5th place, a score of 8.35. We have a newcomer on my Discord, but not a newcomer to RCT2. And it's the entry from Sammy. And Sammy actually built his entry in several YouTube videos as well. So you may have already seen this entry. Now, I believe Sammy built this entry without cheats. I think he only used the cheat for to disable support limits. So I think that makes it all the more impressive. But yeah, not having cheats, of course, it does put you at a bit of a disadvantage against people who do use cheats. But still, I think it's really impressive what Sammy was able to build without cheats. I think these buildings all look really cool. Also, the coaster itself just looks really impressive. Now, of course, if you don't use cheats, stuff like custom supports definitely becomes a lot more difficult to do. So I think it's all the more impressive that Sammy did some custom support work over here. Although, as you can see, yeah, things just don't exactly line up over here. Which is just what you get if you don't use cheats to build. So you'll have to use a bit more imagination in some parts. Still, very impressive work. Probably one of the best inverted coaster layouts that I've seen in this contest. I think that's really well done. That's definitely where Sammy's experience in this game shows. Some other really cool rides as well, like this log flume over here. And yeah, this entire park is just beautiful work. Alright, Brian Barbera asked if I could turn off slow mode. I believe you can type something every 5 seconds, so that should probably be enough. Alright, yeah, Sammy got 5th place, and then let's go check out who got 4th place. And in 4th place, with a score of 8.38, we have Carpunner and In Error predicting a fault. Alright, these two players created a Batman themed entry. So here once again we have one of these Batman layouts. Also in a Batman themed city, Gotham. Well, this station kind of looks like a cave. Maybe the Bat Cave. I think the support structure for the lift hill is super nicely done. I think it works really well. Catwalk here on top, maybe it looks a bit wide, but I don't know. I believe the real rides also have something like a catwalk over here. Maybe for the maintenance of the lift motor. I believe it's often on top on an inverted coaster, not completely sure. Now, I do think maybe this first drop is a bit too high. The coaster goes through this entry really fast. So maybe if it was 1 or 2 units lower, it would have been at a bit more reasonable speed. But still, I do think the layout does look a lot like the original. And I think especially the support work for this ride is really nicely done. I also like that this coaster sits here in the middle of this park, in the middle of the city. You can also see this guest walking around here through this park. Yeah, it just looks super nice, I think. It's also a pretty dark palette, which makes all these lights shine a bit more. These buildings all throughout the center are just super nice. Yeah, and all these cities are situated in this cityscape, also with some roads and traffic traveling around. I think that just is all just super nice. This is probably a Bat Cave. Here you can see the mansion and stuff on the ground. But yeah, there's lots of references to the Batman series in this entry. So it's definitely worth checking out this entry for yourself. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. You can download all these entries from my website. You can find a link in the video description. Alright, then we get to the top 3. Now, first off, I'll show you which entry got 3rd place. In 3rd place, with a score of 8.44, we have Kifa and Shen Kitchen. And Shen Kitchen is, I believe it's been a while since he joined one of our contests. Always nice to see Shen Kitchen join and also be able to finish an entry. That's why I recommend everybody to team up with someone in these contests. It's super fun. Usually you'll learn something as well, and you'll get a lot more done with 2 players instead of just 1. Yeah, I think it's a pretty nice entry. So here's the first drop. It's a pretty low inversion, I think, or maybe it just looks like that because of the landscaping. Then here there's a big loop. Some really nice support work for this loop, but also for these other elements. I think that's pretty nicely done. Also a nice support here for the lift hill. Some nice interaction here also with the rapids ride. I think it will be fun riding the rapids ride, seeing the coaster travel above your head. Yeah, in general, in this rapids ride is just laid out nicely, I think. Some really nice looking buildings. Yeah, these canyons, I think they're also really well done. Also love this little railway that visit track goes around here. Usually Kifa makes one of these drop towers with the car only on one side, but I didn't see one here. So I think they just decided to make this triplet of launch towers here, which I think also looks really nice. Again, nice gradient, usually works really well on these rides, and nice topper as well. Yeah, just a wonderful entry from these players. I believe this entry was also a nod to the entries that Meckett used to make. Usually also with a lot of these ravines and Wild West style buildings. Just super nice. Alright, now it's time to show you the final 2 entries of this contest. And after that, I will reveal the scores and I will reveal which one is the winner of this round. But before I do that, I'm first gonna get a glass of water. As my throat's getting pretty dry from all the talking. Alright, I'm back. Let's show you the first potential winner. And the first potential winner of this round is the entry from Gustav Goblin and Hypnopompia. Now, I think this is a super nice layout if you follow it here from the station. First there's this diagonal lift hill. And this loop actually wraps around the lift hill here, which I think looks super nice. Also some nice support work here. I think this is a single rail track called support trash. Alright. Yeah, it loops around this tower over here. I really like the style of this castle here. The nice windows over here as well with these colors. Here travels through the loop. Actually, I also really like this inversion over here. Kind of reminds me of the coaster Dragon Fire. Super nice, nicely done. Super nice into the building as well. Yeah, also Cobra roll with and the coaster passes under the bridge here. Another really nice interaction moment. Yeah, I'm super impressed with what these two players built here. And here travels over the path as well. Yeah, this coaster is just full of nice interaction, full of nice elements. Yeah, definitely a very nice coaster. The buildings throughout the park also super nicely done. You can see some other interesting object usage. I believe this is the prison door. Yeah, it is. But with the door made invisible. I should definitely start using this object as well, because it makes for some really nice arches. Oh yeah, and here's another really cool trick. Here you can see top spin that has been copied and pasted, so you can see several of these vehicles next to each other. There's actually also one in the Batman themed entry, but I forgot to show the top spin. That one actually had 3 of these vehicles next to each other. So you can really achieve some cool stuff if you copy and paste rides or tiles of rides next to each other. But yeah, overall I'm super impressed with this entry. Great landscaping, great buildings, wonderful coaster, wonderful support work. Really nice extra rides. Yeah, just a wonderful entry. Alright, and now I'll show you the other potential winner. And the other potential winner is Mamarias. I think this is a super impressive map. Alright, this entry is all underwater. 20,000 leagues under the sea, I believe. But yeah, we have an inverted coaster in this entry. So the station, I believe it's over here. And the visible parts of the coaster, they're in big domes that are here underwater. With quite some vibrant foliage in them. And some interesting elements as well. And here you can see a big Cobra roll. After that it dips underground again. I believe it pops out somewhere over here. Here it is. It's already a little bit of a brake run over here. And then over here is another inversion. Now, I think it's really cool how this coaster has its most exciting parts in these little domes that you can see. I do think because of the way this coaster built, it is maybe a bit stretched out. It's quite a few large parts without something in between these sections. And already over here, after this Cobra roll, already quite soon it passes through a brake run here. But still, I do think it looks super impressive. Especially also the scenery in this map. I think it looks wonderful. Quite a lot of rock work using these volcano track pieces. So it looks like some rockets have been fired here. Probably at this big squid. So lots of stuff going on here. So it looks like some of these vents that you can find at the seabed. There's usually lots of these worms growing here. The typical white and red colors. So yeah, definitely some really cool stuff going on here. Lots of big sculptures. I already showed you the big squid here. I think the squid looks super impressive. Also, of course, this big submarine which is floating over here. Yeah, just a wonderful entry from Mamarias. Alright, now it's time to reveal which one of these last two entries is the winner of the round. I've already got the drum roll ready. So, is the winner this subsea entry from Mamarias with the big squid and the submarine? Or is it the entry from Gustav Goblin and Hypnopompia? And the winner of the second inverted coaster contest is... Gustav Goblin and Hypnopompia. And just for the record, Mamarias with this entry got a score of 8.88. And Gustav Goblin and Hypnopompia got a score of 9.24. Let me quickly bring it up again. But yeah, this was also my favorite entry of the round. I think this entry just did everything right. And yeah, these two players can be really proud of what they put together here. But yeah, lots of beautiful entries in this contest. I hope you all enjoyed working on these inverted coaster contests. I saw 30 was actually working on new track pieces for the inverted coaster contest. So who knows, maybe we'll get those this year or somewhere next year as well. I think that would be a really great improvement for this coaster, and would definitely make building those a lot more interesting. But yeah, a big congratulations to Gustav, Goblin and Hypnopompia. I think you two can be proud. And a big thanks to everybody who joined this contest. Also a big thanks to all the newcomers who decided to play in this round. And also to the several players who haven't joined the contest in a while and who returned for this contest. Always nice to see. Alright, a new ride creation contest will start soon. I hope to see many more entries for it. Hope you all enjoyed this live stream, and I'll see you again in the next video. See you later.